So get this, I have a very entitled daughter. How do I know that? Well, she decides to stay with her father after my very, very messy divorce. And well, there's something I'm not telling you guys because she tells me this. I'm not worth staying with because I'm poor, I'm broke, and I can't spend money on her luxury needs. Oh yeah, and there's something else I haven't told you. Have you found yourself in a situation where nothing remains the same after that? You know, your whole life is just flipping upside down and you can't process how you end up here. Standing in this chamber facing the judge and my lawyer. You know what? I feel exactly this. The moment Derek, my so-called husband, stepped into the court with his oozing confidence, I knew it would not be my day. I was facing the trials where I was questioned about my relationship with him, and all those flashbacks started running back in my mind, and I could not decide where I should begin and what parts of my 18 years of marriage life had suddenly turned out to be nothing more than a lie. Seeing me fumbling with words and not in the right state of mind, my lawyer requested the judge gives me a few minutes to recollect my thoughts and begin to inquire when I was in the right state of mind. Seeing me in this disheveled state, the judge felt pity for me and announced a break for half an hour before the session could begin again. The lawyer suggested that I clear my head and calm myself down before we start back, so I land on this platform here to clear the clutter of my entangling thoughts, which could also help me calm down, I suppose, and get better suggestions here on how to deal with the situation I'm stuck in. I'm Deanna, and on this side, well, the guy with whom the judge questioned my relationship is, or was, my so-called husband. I can't determine which tense to put in because divorce procedures are still ongoing, and this is my story of the 18 long years of lies that I've been living. I was about to pass high school. It was those days when our finals were arriving soon, and we would proceed to step into the real world of adulthood. Before that, we used to have a prom night as a farewell party where every girl got asked out as a +1. Well, all the guys had found everyone as their date, and I was still left out, dreading that I might have to be, at prom, alone. But somehow I bumped into Derek, who was not from my high school because he was at the college then. I used to work part-time to support my expenses, so I was a waitress at a cafe. Derek and his friends came to celebrate their victory in their baseball matches, and so the drinks and snacks were served. It was not easy to keep serving the bunch of guys with repetitive rounds of drinks while carrying heavy beer mugs. Seeing me struggle, he was the only guy who lent me a helping hand. Yeah, I was grateful. He was very sweet, even when he was drunk. He cared not to let me feel uncomfortable around the bunch of drunk guys. Seeing such a considerate and gentlemanly type of man, any girl in my shoes would have been swooned by his generosity, and I was no different. Derek, who had already caught the hint while seeing me blush, asked me for a date. And that's how I got a +1 to my prom night. Obviously, things would escalate to the point that, Derek graduated, he had proposed to me, and we got married. It was quite an interesting incident. That day, I saw him with another girl, who introduced herself to me as his girlfriend. I was so heartbroken and confused that I instantly broke up that day, thinking that Derek was such a womanizer. I didn't answer his call or talk to him for 48 hours until he came knocking at my door with a ring in his hand, asking to get married. That evening, I had a chance to meet his family. His mom was more than happy that Derek had found such a suitable match. When Derek's parents asked him about his future plans, he was clear that graduation was about to end, and he would join his father's business after that. Derek, you see, was fortunate to possess generational wealth and luxury lifestyles, unlike mine, which is a typical middle-class family who can mostly afford to go to Disneyland for their trip once a year. I was happy, don't get me wrong, or I guess you could say somewhat delusional about my marriage with Derek. He seemed like a perfect husband and father to our daughter Ava, who's 16. He had everything set in his daily scheduling and, his appointments, meetings, then spending quality time with me, and of course with our daughter Ava, who's now a fully grown teenager and is still in high school. I was a homemaker, taking care of absolutely everybody's needs. But somewhere, life happened and all my past fears came to resurface when his schedule turned overly strict and rigid every time. It was as if he were living two separate lives, and, the boundaries were so rigid that if I tried to mend them by any chance, he would make me feel guilty, as if I've been trespassing into his privacy. It started getting absurd and ridiculous when he lost his mind over a sudden change of plan. At that point in time, I could not understand how to deal with him. Derek had already told me he had recently been promoted, so his work pressure was high. I understood it and gave him the space and time he asked for. But it seemed like his professional life was slowly taking over the personal life that Ava and I were a part of. Before I could think about Derek's behavior, things started unfurling themselves, allowing me to find my answers. One day, Ava called me late at night from her friend's place where she went for a night stay. She was crying on the phone, telling me to come over and pick her up. She couldn't stay any longer. Trying to calm her down, I tried to ask if she could stay. Maybe she'd get over it, but she did not listen and stayed stubborn, asking me to be here. She wanted to come home ASAP, and I was alone that night because Derek was on a business trip, and while I was halfway there to pick her up, I got a call again. This time it was from Ava's friend's mom, who apologized for the inconvenience caused and said that everything was fine with Ava. She got carried away after all the kids' fights, but then turned normal instantly. She told me not to be worried, everything was taken care of, and she also offered to talk to her, but I let it go, knowing she would be fine. I turned around my car and witnessed Derek's car parked outside someone's house. I was so shocked to see that. To confirm, I went near the car to take a good look, then thought of checking inside the house but could not find much. This incident was enough to plant doubt in my head while my past fears began to resurface. The first time, Derek cheated on me. But I could not go far with my thoughts without the evidence in hand, and observing Derek's behavior of keeping his guards on 24/7 gives me a good reason to doubt him. After that night, I was not aware that my other nights would be sleepless. The next morning, I thought of passing by that house again where his car was parked while picking up Ava from her place, even though her friend's mother volunteered to drop her off, but the car was not found. I remembered that Derek told me that he would come home this evening, and when Derek finally returned, I tried to keep an eye on him to know what he was up to. I lay beside him pretending to sleep and sensed that he had quietly left the bed and walked out of the room. I tiptoed behind him and overheard his conversation where he promised to pick up someone for work tomorrow morning, and he hung up his phone. So I rushed back quietly to go to the room and lay down, quietly of course. The next morning rolls around, and I pulled out a random file from his desk, and as soon as he left, I drove after him. This time, when he left, he stopped by the same house, and a lady came right out and sat in his car, and they drove together to his office. I waited a few minutes before entering, and his receptionist greeted me. I told her I came to give this file to Derek, but she hesitated and smiled, saying that I could not meet him since I did not have an appointment, and I asserted, oh no, I'm his wife, and I didn't need an appointment to see my husband. Having said that, I started looking for Derek's cabin. She followed me, refusing to give me directions and trying to convince me that I should not meet with him. I gave her this angry look and warned her that if she did not tell me his whereabouts, I would ensure she gets fired. Standing defenseless, she pointed towards the door. I barged inside, and the scene still disgusts me when I witness him with some other woman in a very compromising position. There was nothing left to explain, so I left the place and reached home. I packed all the luggage and saw that Ava had just reached home from her school. She only had activity class on Saturdays, and she questioned me about my current hyperactive state. I instructed her to pack the things and simply come with me. I was not in the mood to answer where, what, why. I was somehow trying to hold myself together, but Ava was making it difficult for me by, pushing my buttons and constantly questioning me. I felt embarrassed crying in front of my daughter, but I broke right there, telling her that her dad was a cheater. She calmed me down and tried to soothe me by saying that we would deal with it. I felt blessed to have such an understanding daughter like Ava beside me. When I finally calmed myself down and picked up our luggage, Derek returned and he asked me about Ava and where she was going. Holding her by her arm, I answered that she would be going with me, along with half of whatever he owns. Derek, who was unaffected throughout this, got suddenly worried when I mentioned taking his possessions. Though he let me leave, he yelled behind my back that he would not let me have a single penny. Yeah, not going to remain with me. I didn't know what he was thinking. I really didn't, but I felt bad for Ava because she had her birthday the next day. And we had a fight just the day before, and she had to leave the home. Even though she did not complain about it, I knew she had been planning it for a whole week. Invited all her friends, etc., and being her mother, I didn't want Ava to suffer because of what I just went between me and Derek. So, as soon as she woke up the next morning, I wished her a happy birthday and told her that the party was still on and that there would be no changes to her plan. She also got a call from Derek, who wished her a happy birthday, and he called her home. He also informed us that he had a planned surprise for the both of us, and, after that, Ava handed over the phone back to me, and I heard Derek say sternly that he had arranged an important meeting for me and that I had to be present. So I took Ava back to his place, and all her friends were waiting. The decor was up to the point, and everything was perfect. Derek throws really good parties for Ava, and gives the most expensive present. It was a fancy red car, so she can learn to drive by the time she hits 18, which is just a year away. He was clearly spoiling Ava, and she was thrilled by the party and celebration. Meanwhile, Derek called me into his study room, and there I saw a lawyer waiting for me. He showed me the papers and explained to me that Derek was going to have custody of little Ava. Well, I refused, believing that Ava would never leave me. So Derek called her, and Ava came, and she thanked Derek for the gift and surprise, and Derek said it's nothing compared to what he had planned for her. And he showed her the tickets for her trip to Hawaii. Apart from that, he would take her on vacations every year. He was, talking to an interior designer who would design her room with a huge closet. Ava could not believe it. She was about to jump out from excitement, and I got anxious because I then realized that he was trying to take Ava away from me by baiting her with such luxuries. As expected, Derek placed a condition that she had to agree to stay with him, and that he would shower her with all the gifts and surprises. I protested, trying to warn Ava that her father would not take care of her, unlike me. But Ava, blown away by Derek's offer, did not even listen to me and left to check out her new room. Derek just starts to laugh and taunted me about my overconfidence in taking half of everything he owned. His lawyer added that I would only receive the bare minimum alimony for my sustenance. Even after the party, I tried hard to convince Ava to come with me, but she was too busy to check out her new presents and was planning to shop for, a vacation. Knowing he had his way, Derek showed me the way out of his house, reminding me that the place was no longer mine. Well, guys, I'm writing it a few hours after the court hearing today, and whatever happened at the court was all about questioning my relationship with Derek. And as he had money and lawyers, he also had Ava by his side, who claimed she wanted to live with her dad. It was quite obvious that the lawyer had, he had enough, that he didn't need to prove that Ava would have a better life living with me. There was hardly any chance I could stand against Derek because I had no chance to fight for Ava's custody because I could not fulfill what Ava dreamt of. I could give her only a comfortable life and my motherly love, not luxuries, and she made a choice for herself, so I have to agree with whatever amount of alimony is offered to me. Update number 1. Hey guys, I know that it's actually been quite a while, since I've told you what's happening in my life, but I was pained by the thought of my daughter leaving me. A woman could move on from her toxic husband-in-laws, etc., but as a mother, it's a lot of pain to let your child leave your life. I tried so many ways to reach out to Ava and convince her that Mama loves and misses her. I called, texted, emailed her, asking about how she was doing and if she was doing well, but all she did was ignore my messages. It was really hard for me to move on from a child you birthed, took care of, and now left for their own riches. The betrayal from Derek was still understood, but I guess she proved herself to be Derek's daughter by leaving me like this. She only replied to me once, saying that I was too poor to afford her lifestyle, and guys, she blocked me. I finally decide to move on because it's better to avoid someone who doesn't respect or value you for being with them and getting frustrated like this. So talking about how I'm doing without my daughter, well, I was terrible. Apart from the fact that I received alimony, which was enough to not let me worry about getting unemployed during unforeseen circumstances. So, I had enough time to search and apply for jobs, and I started working at a local food outlet just to save money from alimony and rent a small studio apartment for one single person. I'd say it took me about 3 to 4 months to actually give up my hopes on Ava and believe she no longer needs me. I was used to rejoicing after seeing Ava whenever I was in despair or tired, but now that she, the cause has left, I can only see her through the social media post, realizing how much she has changed. I saw her post about going on trips, wearing expensive outfits, changing her hair. Gradually moving on became easier when I made friends and realized that life doesn't stop for anyone. It goes on, making it a little easier for me to let go of my old days. So, I miss my daughter, but then I could remember every time she disrespected me, called me poor, and it helped to leave my desire to have her back in my life after repaying those brutal words in my mind. One day, while I was shopping for groceries, I got irritated by a fancy car making noise through the loud music. It was irritating, and a girl with red hair came out wearing an extravagant outfit. It was so indecent that I would have grounded her for the entire week if Ava wore it. That girl bought a beer carton and threw a few dollars at the cash counter, yelling at him to keep the change. I was shocked to see that she was no other than Ava, who turned out to be a spoiled brat. Even the cash collector seemed to dislike her behavior, but hey, the karma has reverted back to her faster than I thought when I received her message asking me how I was doing. I'm sorry that I cannot control myself to follow your advice not to revert her back, as I was curious to know why she contacted me. I checked on her post, and to my surprise, I've been unblocked from various social media platforms. And I saw Derek's wedding pictures, and the bride was none other than, well, that woman he was caught in the act with in his office. There are many pictures where I saw Ava as well, just sulking in the background, certainly not happy with her dad's wedding. She often drunk-dialed me and tried sending voice messages, saying that she felt lonely and her dad just gave undivided attention to his new little wife. As well, I don't know what to do about it. I just feel really bad about Ava, I mean, at such a young age, has resorted to alcohol to get over her loneliness. I'm really worried about her, even though I will not forget how she has insulted me. Please, guys, tell me, am I getting carried away, or am I being too harsh on her? Let me know. I'll update soon. Update number 2. Hey guys, it's me again. Thank you for the suggestions. I know you guys are right. Being a mother, it's difficult to make such stern decisions against your children, and I gave it a good thought. But before I conclude, let me say that Ava did not give up even after failing to contact me through various calls, messages, emails, voicemails, and social media. She finally did something unbelievable while I was returning from my shift. I saw Ava waiting at me at front door. I don't know how long it's been, but when I saw her snoozing, she didn't look right, as if she has not slept for quite some time. I woke her up and she was startled. As soon as she saw me, she starts apologizing for everything that she did and for how she misbehaved. As soon as I open the door, she starts following me inside, and she didn't pause for a moment. She kept telling me everything, including how cruel her new stepmother was and how much she hated her. She literally held me and starts begging me to take her back. I was not interested in listening to her, but she elaborated further on how terrible her situation had become because her fancy red car was taken away from her. And now she had to travel by subway. Yeah, not only that, I was controlling my laughter when she said how hard it's been for her since she's been sent from private to public school. And her room, which had the largest closet for everything, was now taken away from her, and she had to shift to another room. Which, by the way, had nothing according to her theory. But things got a little interesting when she mentioned her new stepmom. She showed me her nails, saying that her mom had spoiled her manicure by making her do all the housework, from washing dishes to dry cleaning, laundry, and running errands for her dishes. She's been reduced from a dad's princess daughter to a house servant. Ever since her dad went on a trip, she has cut her pocket money to 1/3. She was crying in tears, telling me that she hated that woman and could no longer bear her. She was in tears, and I somewhat pitied her. But then I told her I did not have any money and would have to do some, chores, even though she hoped to return to my life. She replied to me that at least she could feel like a daughter and not like a servant. I retorted that she stopped acting like one when she left me, saying that I was too poor to afford her lifestyle. She stood defenseless in front of me and started to cry, saying that whatever she said was under the influence of her father, and that woman is making her life absolute hell. Somewhere, even I did not want that woman to live peacefully after playing her part in shattering my life. So, to console Ava and give her some hope that if she wishes to come back to me, then she has to make that woman's life the same hell that she's doing to her. I tried to motivate Ava to take a stand for herself and have the right to confront and fight for what she believes she deserves. And I obviously did not want him to remain happy in his life because he was the main culprit for my current state. With those words, all of a sudden she stops crying, as if something amazing had just hit her. All her stress evaporated while she smiled and wiped away those tears. She left, promising that she would be back soon, but instead of her responding, I just showed her the way out of my home. Final update. Hey guys, my ideas actually worked well. I can't wait to tell you what happened. Ava's finally giving her stepmom the taste of her own medicine, and no one could enjoy this better than me when Derek had a hard time dealing with this tussle between his new wife and his own daughter. After all, he's reaping what he sowed, as he had made her into a complete spoiled brat. So recently I received a picture by Ava of Derek's wife embracing someone else with the caption, "Mission accomplished," and coming soon to just go ahead and tell you guys the rest. But when it came to telling her about taking custody before replying to her, I thought of talking to the lawyer. The only one that I could think of was Ava's friend's mother, whom she usually visits for her night stays. She was a lawyer, though not as accomplished and unaffordable as Derek had access to, but she was the reliable one whom I could ask for legal advice or assistance. Since Ava left my place, there's not been a single text or message. She also posted pictures of her parties and nights out, and after seeing her situation, I showed everything to my lawyer, and she just said that there's no use in fighting a case for her because there's no solid ground on which to claim her custody. She's already receiving education, even though it's public, but there's nothing wrong with it. She's not doing any part-time job, which proves that there's no such issues with her personal expense. While looking at her social media post, she looked completely fine, having a social life like a typical teenager, and talking out of the house chores and running errands. There are no signs of abuse. She would sound only bratty if she brought that point to the court. So this time, Ava returned with a bright smile. She claimed that she had kept her promise this time and updated me with the recent events. She told me her stepmother was crying because her relationship with Derek has been going downhill, and she's proud to take credit for that. It all started when his new wife was celebrating their first marriage anniversary, and to embarrass her, Ava spiked her drink, which made it embarrassing for Derek while hosting the party. Ava was not satisfied enough with this, though. Taking advantage of the situation, she pulled a leg out from her just to make her stumble on it, and Ava's stepmom fell on another woman who was a guest. Ava quickly clicked and made those pictures that she sent me viral. Later on, when her stepmom needed help in her drinking state, she took her phone and texted a flirty message to the same guy. That had made things worse between Derek and his wife because they had already become a topic of hot gossip. Ava also monitored waiters, and snacks turned out to be terrible because she messed up the food menu.
And they blame it upon his wife for not taking care of the stuff. After the party, they started having absolute heated arguments. You see, things just began to get worse when Derek, who had already gifted his wife a new car after exchanging it for Ava's fancy one, when she returned home, Ava changed the position of the trash bin, so her new car bumped into it. Though it had a minor dent, Ava took it to another level and broke its headlight to make the dent deeper in the night when no one was looking. So I'd say the next morning, she informed Dad about how careless his wife had been with the brand new gift. Also, while doing the house chores and laundry, she knew that her stepmom had an important meeting tomorrow, so she placed some colored clothes along with her formal whites, and all of it got colored dyed. Well, when she lost her temper and proceeded to raise her hand on Ava, Ava starts to play the victim card and yelled for Derek, who had caught his wife in an act of getting violent with Ava. Ava, taking the opportunity of stepmom's outburst, instantly cried 1,000 tears while asking her dad for permission to hire servants to take care of the house chores, blaming her for the downfall of her academic performance, and asking for her room back because she could not focus with her new room. It was really satisfying after listening to everything and what she did. After so many weeks, when I got the message from Ava asking if I had changed my mind, I told her, "You could live your life better without me because I'm still too poor to afford your lifestyle." She stopped talking to me since that day because now that she has what she wanted, fighting the case for her custody will be a waste of my hard-earned money. After all, she's about to turn 18 in a year. I know that her dad would find someone else and her life would turn upside down again. And she'll make his life turn upside down all over again. I guess after destroying my peace, they aren't going to have a good time in the end.
So the comment section was interesting, to say the least, on this story. There was a lot of people who did not agree towards the end of the story with how OP was handling the situation. It seemed like most people were on OP's side throughout it all until the end, when OP had the opportunity to basically rekindle the relationship between her and her daughter, and she basically told her to kick rocks. We still know that the daughter wasn't really changing her way or her behavior, and OP saw right through every bit of it. I want to know your thoughts about today's story. I want to know maybe you would have done something differently if you were in this situation, because at the end of the day, we are talking about a mother-daughter relationship spoiling, and it is sad. I want to know your thoughts on it, guys. My name's Mr. Reddito. I narrate these stories every day. So if you want to be a part of these daily readings, all you got to do is click the subscribe button. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have an amazing day, but just remember, it's cool to be kind. I'll see you tomorrow.